Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Aspiring Entrepreneur. I'm your host Hamza Chowdhury, and welcome to today's stock recap. It is Thursday, September 16, 2021. If you're new to this channel, I appreciate if you guys can subscribe and hit the like button. We're a 100% free content channel. And just to update you guys, I do have that interview with that pro trader coming up like I promised you guys a couple months ago, and I am still working on that. And I do want you guys to know to look out for that video. It's going to be a lot of good information from a pro trader who's been trading for many years, someone that I look up to as well. And so I will let you guys know on the next video when it's going to come out, but we should be recording that sometime in the next week or so. So with that said, guys, I hope you guys have been having a wonderful time trading. As always, guys, I'm here to help. If you ever have a question or anything, feel free to post to the channel. You can also follow me on Instagram. First thing is first is, I want to cover Tesla. Tesla's been one of those stocks that had this massive run, not only pre-split, but post-split. And after it ran, it joined the S&P, it had this massive run. And then starting in February, overall in the market, we saw a lot of these stocks that ran up sort of held off. And you can see that Tesla's been consistently bouncing off its 200-day moving average, which right now is close to around 695, which we've identified previously as a very strong support in previous videos. And so Tesla has really been consolidating. What I've been personally waiting for on the daily is a retest here of this at 780, okay? And so if you look here, we haven't really tested the 780 since we had this gap fill here back in April, excuse me. And so here we've been consolidating, holding the levels. You can see we bounced off this 20-day SMA line, and essentially the 764 has been sort of a top resistance. And so I was a little surprised to see that that's been the top. I was expecting kind of a quick sort of reject at this level here. And so what I did today personally is I actually decided to sell a covered call out of the money up here at the 800 area about 5 weeks out. And so one of the things that I always mention to you guys is ways that you can make income is if you sell one covered call 1 month out, currently it's trading for almost $2,000. And so imagine if you're someone who pays, let's say, $2,000 in rent, or your mortgage $2,000 is definitely not where we're at in the Bay Area. $2,000 could be income that you can make if you simply sell a covered call. If you own at least 100 shares of Tesla and you want to keep making that money, you can constantly sell this as a way. And let's just say your shares get covered or get called. So for example, the day of the expiration, let's say it's an 800 and Tesla's trading at 801, you can obviously buy it back and sell that same call contract 4 weeks out at much more premium than what you just covered for a loss. And so I really encourage you guys to take a look at that. That's what I did today, just because I feel like, again, we're going to have some tight consolidation. The market's definitely obviously always making new highs, and we also have this upper trend here that we haven't tested that I expect to reject around 780. And so I expect that we'll trade in this area as we hold the trend, which is clearly upwards. But at the same time, 4 or 5 weeks out, again, keep in mind, guys, options work with time decay. So the closer we get a month out, that option is going to be worth less. And so I can obviously pay it back when I feel like I want to cover it, or I can just let it expire worthless if I think it's going to go that way. Okay, so I definitely encourage you guys to do that. Palantir was probably the biggest, sort of been anticipating this. On previous videos we mentioned, guys, that we're looking for a short-term price target of 3150 for this fill. And the key target's always been that 2750 reject that we had here back on the 15th of March, and then obviously the most recent was back in June. And so knowing that was sort of the area of interest for me personally, we finally were able to break through that. And you can see that the volume was a lot higher today on Pltr. And so one of the things that I did too, same idea, guys, is I sold some covered calls out of the money up in the 31 area about a month or so out. I think it was about 6 weeks out. And so what does that mean? It basically means, again, that I'm going to get paid to hold on to my shares, or to give an option for someone to buy my shares at a $31 strike price 2 months out. And if it doesn't happen, and which I don't think it will, then I can essentially buy them back. And so the worst thing that's going to happen, that I think is going to happen with Pltr, if you look on the daily, is I see some consolidation. So we're way overextended past the 20-day. We obviously consolidated there. We made this sort of breakout trade, but I can definitely see a retest back on here under 2750, back down here, and specifically 2669, where I've kind of highlighted this alert. And so this is where I really feel like Pltr will definitely meet as this starts to trend higher. And like I said, tomorrow I can definitely see sort of a pullback considering the massive move that we made today. Okay, and so again, it's been a kind of a long consolidation period. The stock hasn't done anything really in like 8 months, and it's been really quite boring. It trended as low as $17 back here on that earnings report back in May. And so it's been a long time coming, guys. And so, you know, again, selling those options, waiting for that price target, that's great. But either way, you know, find what works out for you. Obviously, it was a lot more bullish today than I personally expected. But like I said, I did the covered calls, and so regardless of what happens, it will definitely be making income. And like I said, if you plan on long-term Palantir, you can carry that over and you can continuously sell those calls and make monthly income, which I think is a great way. I wanted to talk about some of the stocks I've been day trading. Personally, Sava. As you can see, Sava's just been beat down. As you guys probably heard some of the news with the investigation going on with some of their studies and some attorneys questioning kind of the company. You know, it's really just sort of died down. And so what I found here is, you know, anytime something's trading under the 200-day is a great opportunity. And personally, I got excited about Sava was yesterday pre-market. Okay, and so when I saw this opportunity here pre-market yesterday, I was definitely interested in a long. And so what happened once, you know, it's long, you sort of look at previous day and try to get a feel for where you think it's going to land, and it consolidated up here in the sort of 41, 43 range. And then what was interesting today was I had saw the buyers kind of step in here at this level at 40, essentially 43.20 is what I expected, and it ended up actually giving back a lot of those gains earlier. Okay, so it actually came all the way back down here to the 41 level, and so it bounced off this 41.36. I had a bid on at 41.25, and so I missed it by 10 cents, and then that 41.30 or 38 went all the way up to 45. Okay, and so we retested the highs, and so we came back here to this sort of consolidation area, and then we came all the way back up to yesterday's highs. And so it was a good trade, but unfortunately I missed it by 10 cents. And of course I always tell you guys, you know, try not to chase after a trade. And so I actually let that one go. Indp, again, it was a great day one move, right? So we went from essentially, you know, a stock that was $7 all the way up to 27. We knew what the algos were doing. I personally did not really trade too much INDP because I can't get shorts on it, and so you guys know I typically like to trade the backside of these moves. But today I did. I was able to get some shares because a lot of the volume was gone, so I'm sure my broker was able to get shares, and so I was able to trade sort of short small size. And now how do you trade this? You know, you're looking at the pre-market highs, and so you can see the sort of 1450 15 level has been resistance, and so that's where you would want to put your stop loss, is at this 1460 to 15 area. And you can see here that we had this sort of constant test and weren't able to break out, and then finally this fast moving SMA line, we were trading below that, so it told me that the stock was definitely weak. And then you can see again that we're holding these sort of key levels here, okay? And so $11, and so the stock hasn't, you know, if you can see right here at this level at 10, it held well yesterday and it trended higher, and then today it held around 11. Okay, so I don't think the stock is done, and like I said, I could definitely see tomorrow some type of gap up here up to like $12-13. Definitely I don't see 15, just the way it's trading. I don't see 15. I see that as a strong resistance, but I can definitely see some type of run up, and if it feels heavy, definitely look at shorting it. Any type of push to, you know, $12.50 to $13. IRNT, definitely was excited about this one post market yesterday. I started looking at it, went long around 38, and got a couple points out of it, got a few points, and then today I announced it in a chat room. Pre-market, I actually got it right in here, which ended up being essentially almost the bottom, around 42. And then of course it just went up 4 or 5 points, and so it was a solid trade. I ended up getting out for a point pre-market. I don't like to trade too heavy. I don't like to keep size in pre-market. But you can see here again, it did trade under the SMA line, so it was relatively weak, but it also had this sort of run up, and it consolidated and held trend. And so again, you can see that these key levels here, 35, 36 are holding. And so if you want to short, and you're not someone who likes to short, you know, and fade moves or where things get heavy and stuffed, then I would wait for a breakdown of like the 35 level, and then wait for it to start retracing back to $30. And you can see it's just been absolutely, you know, up there. And like I said, tomorrow I can definitely see 43, 44, and then I can see a fade move back there. So definitely a stuff up here into the 43, 44, and then a fade from there. Okay, and then I would definitely stop out here at 47 for sure. Okay, because you definitely don't want a stock that's gapping up, and you don't want to short that. Lptx, guys, just typical garbage small cap stock. Don't do a lot of these anymore as much as I used to, but an announced news, The news was basically saying that it was it had made some progress in some drug. The reason why I think it was just garbage is usually when they announce that there's an offering, and the offering was not announced today, and so you can see that it sold off, and so I was shorting the stock, and then it held trend, and so I ended up going long. Probably up here, and then it sold off, but you can see it actually still closed higher. And we know a lot of these stocks, they typically, right, they come up to the $3 area, and then they'll just fade off the rest of the day. And in this case, it held trend, which tells me that that there is an offering coming. They want to hold the value of the stock. It's still up 31% of the day, and so don't be surprised if you hear tomorrow or sometime soon about an offering. And that's why I think it essentially didn't fail. If you look at it on the daily perspective too, what were we looking for? You can see the 275. The previous, highs on a stronger volume day really was, $3 right here, 285. And so we had 320 as a high on the pre-market, but we never quite got there. And so don't be surprised if you see that tomorrow. I think this will continue to trend and hold. Again, if it starts to break down below here around 2.25, then I can see that it's going to start fading off back to here. Okay, and so I don't think this thing's necessarily done. Traded at over 100 million volume today, so it was definitely a lot of trades. Okay, so here's one that trades an average of 18, which I think is also high just because of the last couple of days it's been high, but today it was 103 million. And you can see that the market cap is low, and it also has, I think, about 50 million shares on the float. So with that said, guys, those are some of the trades that I'm personally doing. If you want to share some of the trades that you're doing, if you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll respond to your comments. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.